Welcome back! Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Peglin University. I would like to play a very interesting character. I want to check out the Roundrel today. I have a couple builds on the Roundrel that I really appreciate. This one's a really easy choice. Both of them definitely love the crit. No downsides to the crit on the Roundrel. The Roundrel, I really do like the crit build, but one of the builds... I love those elites on the left. One of the builds that is actually one of my favorite builds in this game is the gold build on this guy. I think it's really, really strong. I don't appreciate a pea shooter in my face, but I do appreciate 6 bombs on our favorite binomial distribution map. Would definitely be easier if I actually hit one. I need to hit 9 pegs in addition to a bomb. I think this lineup should be the best. Off the right and then back. Perfect. Yeah, the gold build is really fun. The gold build has a great synergy with defense and with damage at the same time, which a lot of builds struggle with a little bit. I think like one of the only builds that does that really well is the Baladin Bulwark Must Circle build. Because even the Spinventor's slime build, green slime is a little bit hard to come by on the Spinventor because there's really only maybe 4 sources of green slime. I'm thinking the green slime orb. That was a little silly of me. I should have gone for a 3rd peg there. Now here I can definitely greed because I'm definitely getting 1 peg. I'm going to try to bounce off of these 2. So there's the green slime orb itself, there's the multi-ball slime orb, and then there's prime slime and slimy salve. And I don't think there's any other sources of green slime on the Spinventor. But on the Roundrel, there's a lot of sources of Belusion, which is a pretty decent defense option. However, offered piercing this early. This is kind of piercing, but Cauldron Bubble, excellent piercing, with a guaranteed 60 damage up to 100 damage if you're counting down on the Spinfection. Easy early take for sure. However, on this one, with the gold build can actually synergize with Belusion really well. Apart from the Golden Gauntlet, I think it's called, something Gauntlet, that gives you 1 dodge for every gold that you collect. You actually have a lot of synergy with, like, between gold and between damage. Namely, I'm thinking of Belusion giving you extra crit chance with Steady Scope. It's just a great build all around. And the biggest reason that it's a solid build isn't even because of the in-battle like benefits that you get from going for the gold build. The biggest reason is you literally get to scale. You get to get more upgrades, you get to buy more things, you get more value from shops. Oh my god, I did great this battle. Oh, I love my performance on that. So, I really like the gold build. I'm not going to be able to force it, unfortunately. I can only talk about my favorite builds, but I can't exactly make sure that everything appears from them. Each of these are solid options, and I would probably grab an extra orb if I didn't have a great orb to upgrade, especially one that upgrades so well into a level 3. And that's one of the most useful like strategies that I've employed on higher difficulties is the pebbles are kind of fodder, and it's important to get at least 3 decent orbs that you can upgrade on the first floor. You can usually sneak by with like 2 to 4. And this one mostly doesn't matter which way I go, but I don't have any Belusion, so I don't want to risk misnavigating, so I'll try to go for a just straight down bounce, which didn't work. I reckon I can graze that 1 gold there. Okay. Slightly greedy play, got slightly punished, but that's alright, because we're simply better. Now this is quite an interesting predicament. A spider that won't shoot me this turn on a map that has bombs that are hard to access, but Cauldron Bubble that's early. And this shot nobody shoots at me. Next shot I get shot for 8. I reckon we should go skip into Pebble and then try to line up the Cauldron Bubble, but I might reconsider if I don't have an easy crit. And as for which way I fire, I like this crit here, but I don't like the refresh there, because all 7 of the bombs here are behind pegs that if I refresh, I have to clear them off again. So I'm actually going to keep this power slide here to keep that refresh out of the way. Okay, perfect. And we activated that. Excellent. Now, this might be tricky, because if I can get a bomb and 40 damage, I will kill both of the plants. And I think that's probably my best shot anyway, because that's better than risking or just accepting 8 damage by itself. Because I'm almost certainly going to get a second bomb. Am I going to get a second bomb? Because I'm thinking Evasive Maneuver is also a good shot. Yeah, okay. I won't skip Evasive Maneuver because I do want the dodge from it, but I will go for the bomb, and I'm going to try to get bounced to the left and then to the right. That might be a little ambitious. It was close. Okay, not too bad. And speaking of ambitious, I aimed for the spider because I wanted to get him below 40 eventually. And I reckon I should be able to line this up. Use the scroll wheel. No, that doesn't look good. This peg needs to go, so I may as well send the cauldron bubble over to the left, try to get as much damage as I can, and then activate a bomb afterwards. Well, that's why the guaranteed damage is so good. Okay. This guy won't shoot me. These guys will. A bomb here is paramount, but I don't think I can guarantee one. This one might be the best one to go for. And as for targeting, it hardly matters, because if I hit a bomb, everyone dies, except for the red slime. If I miss the bomb, then the green slime is dead, so I may as well target the spider. And in that case, I definitely don't want to get any closer to the reload than I have to. And we try for a ricochet back into the bomb. Scroll wheel tech again. Alright, that looks good to me. Don't ever listen to my shot lineups. But now we're good. And now we can farm gold. Gold is super important, most important thing in the game. Get yourself off the ground as fast as you can. Okay, we're looking pretty good here. I think it's probably safe enough that we could skip the guaranteed 30 damage on the cauldron bubble and get a little extra gold. Yes, perfect. And there's always the chance of getting a bramble roll and then not being punished for anything at all. And a little bit more, and I think I'll try to go for an upwards bounce and down into this gold, in which case a larger orb is better. Excellent. And another bramble. Once again not punished. Since he's at 6, I'll even go for a greedier play and try to only hit 1 peg, maybe 2. Okay. I didn't sandbag as well as I should have. But okay, Critsabolus. This is usually really, really good, because you usually really like these guaranteed 3 crits. Or even on top of that, discard into a guaranteed crit. And that does synergize with Cauldron Bubble. However, we already have an extra 1 crit. So that might be a little bit like mitigated its benefit. And up against another piercing option, considering the elites on this floor are essentially 4 options for a piercing elite and the Manitor, which the Roundrel tends to be really good against, especially when you can roll either Bramble to give yourself an extra turn before the Manitor gets to you, or Exploitable. I think the Manitor we're not super scared of, so the piercing is the best choice. And Critsabolus is probably more common than go for the Icicle anyway. And when it comes to upgrading either of these, the benefit is definitely larger on the Cauldron Bubble. Okay. Hopefully everyone agrees with me on that. Early fights tend to be better, so I will go for an early fight, and I'll use the slime to my advantage. There you go. Always pay attention to that. The spider slime, it will bounce off of it as if it's rigid. It won't pass through it like the Slime Lord 5 million, the big red slime boss at the end of the floor. It will bounce off of it, but when it does bounce off of it, it loses about 90% of its kinetic energy, give or take. So those can help you line up shots that otherwise you wouldn't be able to. It reminds me of, if anyone's ever played Angry Birds, the one that lays an egg, where you can kind of change its trajectory mid-shot. It's kind of like that. So use the slime to your advantage, the spider slime, specifically that gray sticky stuff. And on top of that, speaking of techniques, Terraball down the gap, really, really useful to get some early bombs. In this case, we didn't kill the plants. However, we do have Cauldron Bubble right after. Cauldron Bubble we need to rack up 40 damage on, which means 20 pegs. So I think the best odds of doing that might be to go for a bounce straight up. Technically on this last peg on the left would be a little bit safer, but it's harder to see which way you're going to bounce. So my favorite shot here is the second, the penultimate one, and try to get it to go straight up like that. Mostly up, but there you go. Or you just get all the bombs, and then it doesn't matter. More important here than getting like every last bit of gold is not getting shot. This is probably okay. And navigating correctly here is absolutely critical. So I'm not going to greed at all. Because not only do you miss a tile, you also miss an elite, which will double suck. Now this play, okay, pay close attention, right? We have Horrible, Cauldron Bubble, and we have only 4 enemies on the map, but 1 more coming up. So we're going to fire off the Horrible. Now, we could fire it towards the bombs, but it'll almost certainly activate this middle one and maybe others. So we're going to try to save as much AoE damage as we can for the enemies that come out later. So I'm going to try to clear off a larger amount of pegs and maybe in the direction of the refresh. Didn't go in the refresh direction, but we essentially burn a turn to get much better value on our piercing orbs. And the crit definitely paid off. Okay, excellent. Now I'll try to bounce it straight up so that it gets stuck in the big mass in the middle. Give or take. That's about as good as you can hope for. We definitely want to target the big green slime as much as possible. These guys are dead in a couple turns, so we don't really need to worry about any damage here, and instead we should focus as much as we can on that piercing damage all the way to the back. And I think piercing one peg down here with the icicle orb is the best chance to kill its kinetic energy. There I go about the kinetic energy again. Just like that, to pierce that middle one, to get a bounce going up and to the left. To get a crit! Oh! And I'm thinking, it doesn't really matter what we do with this shot, because if we go to Pebball, we're going to get to Evasive Maneuver Orb, but by then all of these guys will be dead anyway. So we may as well fire off all of these Pebballs, such that this bomb pops all of the red guys. And maybe I'll try to bounce it up to the ceiling and over to the right so that we can get closer to this refresh, because that refresh will definitely be a problem for us if we don't get it soon. Well, the one peg in the way, what can you do? Now here we definitely want to get as much of this out of the way as possible. I am expecting it to bounce to the left if I try to drill it to the right, because it'll hit this guy and go all the way left. So maybe I'll, instead of going as far right as I can, I'll try to get it to go straight up and then hopefully straight down. Yes! Okay, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. And the refresh to boot. Literally the best case scenario. Now we're looking for 200 damage, you know, minus 30, so 180, out of 3 of these guys. So we'll be on pace if we make about 60 per. Or this guy about 15 pegs per, or 20 without a crit. Seems a little optimistic. I'm anticipating having to reload. I would consider in that case skipping to get more crit damage if we had a crit ready, but we do not, and those crits are pretty bad. So I might save the pegs in the central mass and try to knock out some of these deeper pegs on the left-hand side so that we hopefully get a good crit for the maneuver orb. We didn't, but that one down in the middle does look pretty good. The maneuver orb crit is also not just damage, but also defense. The bounce didn't go our way, though. What can you do? Plinkus Dinkus giveth, Plinkus Dinkus taketh away. I think we go for as much damage as we can get at this juncture. Perhaps with a little bit of foresight and try to clear a path to the refresh as well. Ooh. and the exploitable and the crit actually did us a really good favor. Now we only need 26 damage. Divide that by 1.3 if you hit the crit. I would like to avoid getting hit again, and I think that we could probably get 13 straight up pegs on this right hand side. So I will send it this way, and I will be greedy, and if I don't get 13, then at least he'll be dead to poison. But there we go. Okay, that worked out. Overall, pretty solid elite for the first elite. Now, do we want to get a third piercing orb? If it was any orb, I wouldn't take any piercing orb other than Poltergeist. Coban Orb is also here. Coban Orb does give us a 4/8 orb that also generates wealth. So that gives us a decent single target damage orb. We have an extra crit, so we can have a little bit better chance of hitting that 8 damage per peg. And a third piercing orb might be good against Leshy or Avogadro. But against the Slime Lord 5 million, I actually think not only is this the more, fun, haha, gold build play. I called the gold build, I get to play the gold build, but also probably the best choice because the chance of running into another decent single target damage orb with other benefits before the Slime Lord, I think it would be a little bit hopeful, especially considering the decent non-crit damage option as well, whereas Susceptible, for example, is only 1 non-crit. And as for where we pump our upgrade, so it's kind of a question of, do we benefit more from dealing more damage like AoE damage with Evasive Maneuver Orb, Ice Circle, and saving us health by killing the enemies faster, or dealing more single target damage with Coban Orb, but on top of that also getting a little bit better gold. And from level 1 to level 2, the damage increase is actually monumental because not activating versus not popping is different. Not popping means gold pegs are durable to the Coban Orb. So the level 2 is a really big power scaling because it essentially becomes the gift that keeps giving because it can activate gold pegs multiple times. So Coban Orb upgrade to level 2, I think I will take. This is very interesting. Pocket Watch is very strong. Gives you a appreciable increase in power. You tick about once every half a second to a second, maybe 0.8 seconds, I think. In that time span, you usually hit about maybe 3 or 4 pegs, so it can come out to 20 to 30% increase in power. Dungeon Die is very interesting. I have some thorough mathematics that, at viewers' request, I can share, but essentially it comes out to the fact that you can control between your crit and non-crit damage, and you can control between skipping and not skipping. So you get basically the highest output of 4 rolls, and the roll is an average of +1/+1, because you can see the average of -2 and +4 is +1. But on top of that, if you have 4 tries, meaning crit or non-crit and then skip or not skip, the highest ceiling of the dungeon die gives you a +2.8, +2.8, I think, according to what I remember last computing. I really like the dungeon die. I think the dungeon die can scale your power significantly, and especially considering 2 of my orbs right now are AoE orbs that won't really get high per peg damage, the potential of dungeon die to buff them strongly is really high. With all of that said about the dungeon die, all of those niceties, the dungeon die makes your build inconsistent, so you can get some bad rolls a few in a row. However, I think that generally speaking, Peglin tends to even out your randomness, so if you get some bad rolls, you don't die in one fight, you just take more damage than you otherwise would. But things that will really kill you are bosses. Bosses will take multiple reloads to kill, and across multiple reloads, dungeon die will not do you dirty. You have literally dozens of rolls on dungeon die. You will definitely, law of large numbers, approach both in expectation and in probability the expected value of the dungeon die. If that sounds like jargon to you, that's because it is. It's the mathematical definition of the law of large numbers. But you're watching the Keeper play Peglin, so you should have expected a ton of math. Alright, here comes the dungeon die with its crazy numbers. Okay, we have a 5-4 and an 06. We could really save the 06. We have a lot of things to consider here, right? So, almost certainly, we don't want to fire the Terror Ball. With one major exception. If shot number 2 gets really bad crit, we're okay. If shot number 3 gets really bad crit, we miss out on a huge amount of damage considering that it's also giving piercing on the crit. And since we aren't sure what we're going to get on the Pebble, I don't want to fire the Pebble right now, because if we get a really good crit, we skip. If we get a bad crit, we fire. For that reason, I think it's actually optimal to fire the Terror Ball, as crazy as that sounds. And of course, left shot, right shot, middle shot, find the refresh, and then middle shot will clear the refresh, so that works out for us just fine. And maybe even collect a little extra gold by hitting that leftmost edge peg. Good crit? No, bad crit. Okay, we've been rewarded for our cautiousness. Now that we don't have a good crit, we get a 5 per peg. Next shot, we get another chance at getting a good crit. Now there's another consideration. So the chance of the crit being somewhere hittable, meaning on this power slide or this power slide, is maybe about 2/3 right now. But if we take out that power slide, it'll be like less than half. So there is a consideration to try to clear out some of these side pegs and bricks on the bottom so that we are almost guaranteed to get a hittable crit, at least 1 out of 2. But I think considering that we have 2 crits on the board with the button, we don't need to worry about that too much. So I'll take my little standard preset shot over here. Follow the flowchart, and there we go. This looks pretty good, because usually this will give you a nice little jump, slide, bounce. I think I'll go for it. I think I'll try to not do anything too fancy, and I'll even try to get it to go mostly in the middle, because sometimes if you give it too much energy sliding side to side, it'll pop out too far left or too far right, and then fail this rollout. So I'll try to go for the less risky route. I was holding my breath. Okay, that's a huge amount of damage. We've been massively rewarded. We didn't get the bombs either yet, which is not ideal because we are about to kill the first guy. But I think this bounce should be pretty solid for the refresh. Okay, there we go. And we did get the bomb, which is actually a fantastic outcome. If we can kill these guys before all of the reloads, that would be a really good outcome. And I think I might break my roll of left, right, middle, because the left is mostly dead and the right guarantees me a bomb, which guarantees the kill on plant number 2. And hopefully we can get the final kill before the reload. Okay, that looks really good. Now, Coban Orb didn't really have a chance to prove itself this fight, because if I shoot it now, he's very much dead. So we need to consider our navigation. And our navigation is ambivalent. Is it ambivalent? Do we care about that chest? Or do we want the shop? I think we have enough upgrades like left to go and enough healing that we want that it's not ambivalent. In which case, I can't greed, in which case we do shoot Evasive Maneuver Orb and we have a crit for it. But we could probably collect a little bit of gold because he's at 35 with a poison. That we don't need the crit. Exactly. Okay. A refresh tech is quite useful. The slime can be pretty brutal against refreshes. We have 2 more guaranteed fights, 1 relic and a maybe fight. The main benefit of Replenish Orb is when fired it refreshes, kind of like an Ether Wheel. And we are foregoing a crit, but we do have 23 gold left over. Sorry, foregoing a heal. And I think that's okay. I generally do believe that healing late on a floor is better than early, because scaling your power done early will save you health. Healing being a short-term benefit, doing that early will lose you out power and you might lose more health because you're weaker throughout the middle of the floor. So I do consider that this is probably better, so that we're better off against the question mark in the following 2 fights. And considering this is also a rare orb, I think we will take it. Plus it has, you know, the capacity to pop off by making like 5 refreshes in a shot. Okay. We could take some Belusion. Or we could take some gold. We already have an alternate source of Belusion. And Belusion, it doesn't quite synergize with itself, as in adding Belusion to Belusion is better. It's like this, the upper stack of Belusion is actually probably worse and worse the higher you go. The way that I can maybe imagine it in my head, I actually should crunch the numbers on this. You know what? I'll come back next episode with the numbers crunched. Maybe I'll throw it in the comments. Whether the Belusion will get weaker as you add it on top of itself. Like, the way that I think about it is, let's say you get 20 Belusion on top of 0. Well, that'll mitigate you a hit on expectation within the first 5 times you get hit. But if you add 20 on top of 100, well, instead of going 150, you go 120, 60. You probably don't get that much benefit. So I think because we have some Belusion, this is a little less value. However, we do have an extra crit, which means it's a little more value. But I think Re-Philosopher's Stone has the potential to really pop off, because you can refresh the board many times per round. And I feel like every time I take Re-Philosopher's Stone, especially on the first floor, I reach a point where everything is level 3 and I'm overflowing with gold and I'm max health because I'm healing every round. I think Re-Philosopher's Stone is an A-tier relic. It's a little slow to pay off, but then so is Vitamin C. Vitamin C is like, if you're activating a ton of crits, that's pretty nice. But okay, I think this probably will bounce me into the Flaming Pits of Hell. So I think we'll have to do a little bounce off of here, off of this peg. And I think this ought to send me mostly straight down. Okay, it did not, but that's okay. The brick saved us. All right, round guard, excellent. We do like the idea of potentially having our fights go on a bit longer, and this does help us a ton with the big Slime Lord. And then on this next chest, we can almost certainly... we can almost certainly try to open it, try to crack it open. Maybe? Do I want to risk a question mark? Actually, probably not. I don't think there's... Now that we have round guard, I don't think we should duplicate all orbs, even if it saves us 4 HP. Just because we don't really have upgrades on the orbs that we want to upgrade yet. If your sack is in a better position, then duplicating all is fine. Otherwise, we have twice as much work left ahead of us. So let's duplicate a random and tank the health. And in this case, we definitely don't want to miss out on the double fight, because that's a potential double heal. Navigating out of this battle, you always want to aim at this third gap from the side and then scroll down as far as you can. But there's a really funny thing that I used to do when I was starting out Peglin, is because the pegs are mirrored, you actually shoot the opposite way and try to arc the shot so it lands in the gap created by your first peg that you cleared. But I won't do that. I won't do that. We're playing serious Peglin. Is it the third gap? Maybe I'll do the fourth. No, the third gap, just so it's farther to the right. Yeah. Don't get anywhere near the center and you're fine. Okay, this does change the equation a tiny bit. But considering I'm at 24, and this could miss out a full heal. By full heal, I mean a full single press of the button that gives me 13 heal. I'm only looking at a maximum upside of 50 health into the boss, so I'm definitely not even going to risk that at all. Even though I could get a little bit of gold. Okay, this fight is fine. A 5-2 is probably pretty good. And this one I definitely want to get to the bombs as fast as possible, and I might want to clear a double gap just so the horror ball can get in there. Because getting these early bombs with a horror ball is actually really good value. I think I'll pass because I think activating one bomb is better than the chance to activate it twice. And we actually ended up clearing it anyway. Now in this case, even though the horror ball might activate bombs better, there's a decent chance of this rattling around and hitting a crit somewhere. Didn't happen. We got hit once, but that's okay. Now let's try to get to 50 if we can. Because yes, I was anticipating it potentially going into the gap and hitting that bomb. Now we can sandbag, not quite sandbag, but greed, while also dealing single target. 1-6, 2-5. I think a 1-6 guaranteed. Actually, our upside is not, we're not going to break past the multiple of 25, so I don't think we need to sweat it that much. I reckon I could even refresh. Remember, refreshing makes us a little more gold on the board. 2-5 or 1-2. We can go a little more greedy with a 1-2. It'll probably only matter for the next floor. Now, speaking of greed, this will make us some extra gold on the board, which, collected one. Okay, not bad. I think we are only in the realm of healing and upgrading. And single target Coban Orb actually ends up being probably the best shot we have against Slime Lord. And at this point, 45 dodge, probably not worth the risk. And there is no direct line, is there? I think this should be. Do I take the 1 gold? I'll take the 1 gold. I'm never taking the 1 gold again. Oh, I love this fight. It's so fun. You do have to be patient, though. This fight is probably single-handedly enough reason for a lot of people to have 3x speed as an option. And perhaps a crit would be good here. I was trying to get the crit. Okay. I think farming gold is actually important enough that I'm gonna forego necessarily speedrunning the bombs, unless I can get, ooh, yes, unless I can get a bounce all the way into a mass like that. Oh, what an amazing shot. Okay, I was skeptical of being able to hit a multiple of 25 again, but if we could, we can get an upgrade pumped into Maneuver Orb, which would definitely be pretty impactful, and I think a guaranteed bomb is definitely worth it. Okay, yeah, we're definitely going for that multiple. We just gotta probably hit a refresh, because I think the mass of pegs is not dense enough to get a good chance at 4 gold. And since we're not getting hit this round, we're probably okay to go Pebble and then Coban Orb, because the Pebble ought to amass enough damage to get this bad out of the way. And then hopefully eventually get close to getting a bomb. That ought to be a good shot. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and chalk up all of this financial success directly to Philosopher's Stone. Because, yeah, a bomb here should be fine. And may as well try to get a little bit more greed to pay off on the next floor. Plus with an 0-3 Horrible, like, what more could you want? Here a refresh does look very good. Coban Orb hitting more pegs is probably the best outcome for it. Go for the Ice Circle as a 5-5. Oh, if only we got that earlier on like a harder multi-enemy fight. This is definitely one of the easiest fights that come on this floor. Okay, with the power of patience, and maybe only a little bit of video editing, the refresh has come to greet us. Generated a little bit more gold. Now, do we want to fire a 0-5? 55, and I don't think we're ever going to take a new orb. Would there ever be an orb that I would take? I don't think... Roundrel doesn't get any healing orb, I don't think. I don't think he gets Nosferatu, no. Docked Orb, no. So I don't think I would take an orb, but that probably doesn't really change greeting a little bit, because I don't think there's any risk if I'm going for pegs anyway. So just shove it over to the left where there's pegs, get 1 extra peg, whatever it may be. And now we can get a good crit and hit a bunch of pegs. There you go. Unless we get a level 2 orb offered. Okay, we have to heal. And we probably wouldn't want it. Now, Spinfectious Sting is probably only good once you get it to level 2 and 3, where it can actually deal decent Spinfection. Because Slime Lord. Oh, I never recognized, by the way, that we got the duplication on probably the best option here. With all of that said, It's almost certainly Evasive Maneuver Orb. I don't think Replenish Orb has a good enough upside. An extra refresh, some extra damage, versus extra defense and extra damage. It's probably going to be Evasive Maneuver Orb. So yeah. Biggest tip in Peglin, just get lucky. Okay, 5-2, 4-4, 7-9. Always read ahead. When you have dungeon die, you gotta slow down and smell the flowers. We could go for this bomb right away. Risk hitting the crit. We could go for crazy damage. We could go this way. I think going this way is actually probably the best play, because we guarantee avoid the crit. We very likely will hit a lot of pegs. Yeah, this looks pretty good to me. Another tech, by the way. Notice that if you use the go for the icicle or icicle, you will keep piercing red icky slime until you hit a solid peg. And I think even if you bounce it off of one of the bumpers, that doesn't count as your first peg, so you'll continue piercing. With that said, I'm going to use that to my advantage here. And hopefully not hit the crit. Well, what can you do? It didn't look like it was going to hit the crit to me. Koban Orb, I will actually take very big advantage of its durable effect. I don't... Now, do I want to skip for it? Do I want to skip a 4-4? Is a 4-4 above average? It's about average. Maybe it's a little above average. Some decent orbs. But a couple zeros, a couple duds. I suppose since the 4-4 is offered with a big pillar of slime, and through the left we have a clear shot, I'll save the next one for that one. And here, between sending it into the slime versus opening a path to the bombs, I suppose opening a path to the bombs will still have a decent chance of getting into the slime anyway, so let's give it a try. Or we can have a skill shot like that, and even activate the bomb. So you can have our cake and eat it too. Now, for this shot here, definitely want to send it this way, because it'll treat the gold as durable. And I think I'll try to get a little extra bounce. I'll try to get a little more damage out of it. Yeah, pretty nice. You saw that little triple bounce it did on there? Now, when offered the crit orb, the cauldron bubble, I mean, regardless of the stats, the extra spinfection is going to be worth 40 spinfection if you count it down. One extra spinfection, but it'll also last all of the spinfection one extra turn. So four full turns of spinfection ends up being 40 damage. So you would want to compare that against if you had stronger non-crit damage, how many pegs would make the difference. Or you could just fire the orb and have fun at the game. And maybe claim the bomb. Now I gotta ask myself, will I refresh before I spin back to this side? Almost certainly not, because I probably won't fire the Will I fire the terrible? No, I will not fire the terrible. I'll fire Pebble, Pebble, Pebble left, Pebble right. In the world in which I fired the terrible on the left, and then decided to skip to the Replenish Orb on the right, yes, it would refresh before firing, but in this case I want to take the guaranteed crit, because it's 40 extra damage plus 2 per peg. Okay, brilliant. And an extra Bram Ball. You love to see it. Especially on a slow boss like this guy. No offense. Big guy. Full respect to you, my lord. That didn't bounce as I expected it to. I thought to hit the top bomb, but that's okay. Now 5-4 or 3-6. You know, actually, well, I was thinking before I want to fire both Pebbles, but I don't have an issue firing the terrible here, considering it's a 5-4. Do I want to take the first bomb? It won't bounce into the second bomb. I'll take the second bomb, it won't bounce into the first bomb. I'll take the first bomb. And since it's a 5-4, it's a mild difference. So I reckon I'm okay with risking hitting this crit and just hit it up where it can hit more pegs. And I did activate the bottom bomb. So we got both. Now in this case, I probably do want to activate this bomb. And then the next shot will be a refresh. So the next shot I'll probably fire up and over. Now, it only refreshes when fired. It does very poor damage. But I definitely do want to get some refreshes, and I will fire it up and over so that I can create some new refreshes in the center mass for the next phase of the fight. With that said, I'm not exploding this bomb this turn, so I'm not going to take that shot. So I'll just take some pegs. And maybe hit the crit? I have a guaranteed crit shot. But will I hit half as many pegs as otherwise? I think I will, because I think I have a good chance of hitting this left stuff than here. I reckon I'll take it, considering the exploitable. I actually don't need to hit half as many pegs. I need to hit 1/3 as many pegs, roughly, because I'm going to take, I'm going to deal almost 2x damage. I'm going to deal 1.9x damage. So because of the exploitable, we'll take the crit for sure. We hardly hit anything, but that's okay, because we got a really good multiplier, and we rolled exploitable again. Now, remember, this shot will refresh, but hopefully it goes into this center mass in the middle. Very nice. No new refreshes because it's once every 8, but that's fine. Now, a 410 is so powerful that I will not pass that up, especially with 12 exploitables. So that's essentially a 422, because it's 10 times 2.2. So I definitely want to have a 100% guaranteed crit. So I will sack the Horriball. I don't think there was any chance, no matter how I shot that, to get it anywhere near a crit. And we absolutely got rewarded for it. Now, I don't want it to go down this gap, and I don't want it to go down that left gap. So I'll try to bounce it maybe into these bombs and have it rattle around as much as it can. This shot is where everything is at, because we will probably die if we don't make a good damage shot here. Okay, that's quite solid, because that's an entire 242 damage. And on top of that, we get a 3-7, and this is our last chance. The poison will not get us there. So how much damage do we need here? 216, but divide that by about 3, so about 80. So we need about 10 pegs hit. If I launch this into here, don't count the crit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It'll be close. It'll be really close. I'm going to try to launch it farther to the right so I can hit that refresh. The slime won't help, but I do see that I will be sliming it first, so I do want it to hit the slime first and then bounce. Just like that. See the difference there? Let's give that a shot. Alright, this one's for all the marbles. We're looking for about 80. I don't think we make it. It was a close one. Well, thank you for tuning in. I hope that what I have shared has been educational. Peglin University, not a real university, will release its publications on the math of the dungeon die and the math of the Belusion at viewer request. And I will see you next time.